Hello, Valerie. How are you doing today?
Oh, you used my full name. I didn't like
I did.
that. I'm good. How
I'll
are
never
you?
do it again. I'm good.
Please don't. How has your long weekend been?
It was good.
Yeah.
Easter was a little different this year, obviously, but did the best I could with what I was given.
Yes. Did you like what did you do to make it fun?
We still did like a little Easter egg hunt, which we do every year.
Yes.
And yeah, just talk to family. That's literally all you can do.
Did you get your dogs anything for Easter? Wow.
I didn't. I know.
The
I know. They had like a special like Easter dinner with like mashed potatoes and chicken and stuff like
Okay.
that, but
Well, that's enough of a gift then. Okay. I won't guilt you anymore because that is a
yeah.
gift.
I feel like I spoil
Okay.
them too much. Like I feel like I'm going through their toys like once a month, getting rid of things that they don't use anymore because like I'm constantly buying new
Oh
stuff.
my gosh, you are a dad dog. A
I am a dad
dog
dog.
dad dog. All right.
All
Uh,
right.
I'm
Great way to
only asking
start.
you because we got our dogs from Vanessa Meats. Like, I call them, they're like dinosaur bones. They're honestly this big. It's
Huge ones, yeah.
$10. Yes, the ones that were here in Dallas fought over them. Yes, so
Hmm.
that's why I'm guilting you because we did for once, which we never do. So yeah,
A little
call
low key
me.
brag. I
Yeah,
like it.
I'm a bit of a mom dog.
This is like a whole compass situation all over again. I I went back and listened to it again, and it's just like I don't see how you can think we're saying the same words.
I haven't done it yet, but maybe when we do that 420 episode, I should have a give a few listens to it.
You should right beforehand, and then you'll just be like the whole time.
Oh, oh, that's good. And we are on episode.
20, yes. Okay, so 20
Yeah,
full episodes of us talking about whatever the heck we have talked about for the last 20
yeah.
episodes. It's
20
been a
beautiful
while.
conversations.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I've definitely I went back today and I listened to just like little snippets of a couple of the episodes. And it's just really cool to see the difference in our first episode from like an episode
Hmm.
we did a couple weeks ago where it's just we're a lot more comfortable. We're not sitting there like shaking
Yeah, it's
like
like
the
more of
first
a
couple
natural
episodes.
conversation.
Yeah. And I feel like it would have been a lot easier if we were doing this in person, if COVID wasn't real, to like do that connection.
Agreed.
But I think we're
Yes,
getting to the
agreed.
point where we're having good conversations over the internet, which I think is
Yeah,
beautiful.
I think it just takes longer to get to that point when you're virtually. However, I have found like recently with client meetings, I've been able to get better at connecting with people virtually faster. If that makes sense. Like
Yes.
it doesn't take like a whole meeting to break the ice. Like it takes less time depending on who I'm talking to and what we're talking about. I found it to be like a skill that's been honed over time. If that makes
100%. I think
sense.
it comes
Yeah.
down to like I'm more confident now talking like over Zoom or talking over FaceTime or over the phone or whatnot because we have so
Yes.
much practice because that's all we do right now.
That's just it. It's been like the practice. Yeah, yeah, the practice. That's so interesting. Cause I remember talking to an advisor at the beginning of the pandemic, and she was totally virtual. And she's like, "I would recommend you to just practice it. Like call your sisters, like call your siblings." I'm like, "Wow, like that sounds kind of like yeah, good advice, but probably not something I'm going to do." But I guess that's just what we've been doing is practicing. So
Yeah, I got the same
interesting.
advice too, just like call my mom or call family members just to practice making those calls.
Huh.
I don't, but I'm
But
still pretty good at
yes.
talking now. Anyways,
Love
20th
it.
episode. I want to give a couple of shout outs just real quick before we start. I just want to send a
Hmm.
blanket thank you, which I've used that term before, to everyone who's ever listened or shared or downloaded or whatever it may be. It's really cool
Hmm.
to see those numbers grow. And you guys are doing an amazing job at
Yes.
that. So I just want to thank everyone who's kind of come along this journey with us, per se, because it's been a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to
It's been
see.
a journey.
It has been a journey. I'm really excited to see where we go, because I think we're just getting better and better. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
It has been a lot of fun, and I've been grateful for like the different conversations we've been able to have, and it's the stuff that like I want to talk about with people, but I don't always know like who's open to it. So it's been cool to have like this platform to do that.
Right. And then I also want to send out a quick thank you to our producer, Owen, for constantly dealing with our crazy schedules and last
Yes.
minute changes and meetings and stuff like that.
And also giving great tech advice. Like I am able to now have like 5 USBs in because he told me what to get and how to do it. And yeah, he's leveled up our game huge too.
Yeah, he has. So
There he
there he is,
is.
making a quick cameo. So thank you, Owen. And then finally, I just want to send a quick thank you to you, Val, for coming along this journey with me. You were not prepared for that.
I was like, I'm gonna give him a thank you, and then it was me. Oh,
Yeah, I just want to thank you for keeping me motivated and keeping. We've done 20 episodes, which I don't think we appreciate how much work we put into this and how much time. Um,
yeah,
and I wasn't sure that we were going to be able to keep this going and keep doing it each week, but we've
yeah.
managed to keep
For
going
us
each
to be
week.
like consistently authentic and growing and changing and having new ideas, like, yeah, thank you, Dakota.
You're welcome.
I'm
And that's
looking
just
into
it. Like
your
growing
soul.
with you, I think is one of my favorite things. And I love
I would,
seeing your point of view and hearing your point of view and seeing how we've changed and stuff like that. So yeah.
yes, I would not want to grow with any other dad dog.
Yes. And I'm really glad we have that compass to keep us in line and keep us going.
Keep us on the path.
Exactly. And then one final thing before we start talking about the important stuff this week. Last week we talked about how we were going to have a guest on this week, but because
Mm-hmm.
everyone has busy lives, we've had some scheduling conflicts. So they will be
Yes,
coming up shortly, and we will continue our spiritual/religion conversation probably within the next couple weeks. So keep an eye
yeah.
out for that.
But
And then we have
instead,
instead, yes, but
today,
we also have a couple of other guests coming on as well
yes,
in the near future. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
yeah.
But instead, today we're going to talk about something that I'm actually really excited to talk about
Can you
because
sing it?
it's
Can you sing the title of it?
um,
Doesn't that
no.
song come to your head?
Which song? I feel like there's so many.
Let it go from
Oh yeah,
Frozen.
Frozen. Yes, we're going to talk about letting it go and building
Yes.
snowman, of course.
Yeah. Yes.
But yes, I'm very excited about this topic because it's something that a couple of years, well, right when I finished university, and I was kind of like, where the heck am I going with my life? It
Mm-hmm.
was something that I realized that I'm not very good at, and it
Yeah.
encompasses a lot of my time. And I've put in a lot of effort into improving myself and improving myself with this aspect of letting go.
Did you also
Um,
put a lot of pressure on yourself when you left university and you were like, okay, I need to change the world now. Like, I need to figure it out now. And you had to let go of that unrealistic expectation and also like pressure on yourself to figure it out when it's like, I don't have to figure it all out right now.
100%. Yeah, like the day after my graduation, I literally was like, beep, what am I doing with my life? Like, what am I going to
What?
do? I need to get out there, figure everything out, and I need to
Yeah.
start working and making money and changing lives yesterday.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Good. Because I totally did that too. Probably for like a year. I was in this like, what do I do? I'm supposed to be like doing great big things by now. Yeah.
Especially coming out of my degree too, when I don't regret my degree and I love my degree, but it's not necessarily like I didn't go through to get my master's or my PhD yet. You know, I still might. We'll see.
Yeah.
Um, but I changed paths a little bit and I didn't really know what I was doing. And it was hard for me to let go of my university experience and my degree because I psychology like really,
Mm,
really excites me. And I love
right.
figuring people out and like, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So switching to real estate, it was very hard for me to let go of that. But I got excited or equally as excited about real estate. And I knew it was a chance for me to help people. It was a chance for me to build these cool relationships with amazing
Yeah.
people. But
And
it was
also
still
something
hard
like
to
you can
let go.
still use psychology when working with clients and working with like people.
Exactly. And I think letting go is such a large saying because I think when we think of letting go, we think of things like, you know, relationships or people
Mm-hmm.
or things like that. But there's so many other things that I personally struggle and continue to struggle with to this day.
Yes.
Letting go things like experiences. Even we talked about this last week, but we talked about our trip to PEI, and
Mm-hmm.
that I had such a good time. And that's still such an important week of my life because I
Yeah.
it was such a good time. And it took a lot for me to let go of that experience because it was constantly in my mind, and I was constantly like, well, am I ever going to have that much fun? Am I ever
Was
going
it
to?
like almost like I'm picturing like high jump, and it was the bar, and you were setting every other experience in your life up for failure by being like, well, it wasn't as fun as PI, so like I wish I didn't do it.
Exactly,
Huh.
100%, comparing everything. And like, I wanted to get to that level of high that I was that week, not
Yeah.
high on drugs, but high on life.
No. No,
Yeah, a
I
little
just
bit.
kidding.
We were young.
Yeah. We are young.
Yeah, we are young. True, 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 true. But we were younger then. Um,
Yes.
and even things like past jobs and past people that, I don't want to say background people in our lives, but people who aren't, in our inner circle, but we've developed those relationships with, that we now have to be like, oh, I'm never going to see them again. But it
Right,
plays
but
such
it's yeah. No, you're right. Keep going.
oh, I was just kind of talking, but they play such an important role in your life.
Hmm.
And I think there's a fine line between, acknowledging that they've had a hand in creating who you are, and
Hmm.
they've changed maybe who you are. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they need to be in my mind like 87% of the time. Like, I feel like I am thinking about the past too much,
Yeah.
and it's affecting my future. Um, does that
Well,
make
and
sense?
like yeah, like you're thinking about your past so much, and then suddenly like you're in the future and you forgot about the present. Like you totally like paint over it all. So how for you, like what are ways that you let go, or strategies, techniques? Like
Yeah,
what do
exactly.
you?
I find I have like little triggers. Like, one thing that um, really affects me is past jobs, because when I start a new job, I put like 150% effort into it,
You're a
and I build
passionate little
relationships.
worker bee.
I,
Yes.
I I would consider myself to be a passionate little worker bee, and like those coworkers, I feel like are such a big part of your life. So like, I have little triggers, like working at the theater. Like, every time I go into the theater, I even have popcorn. Like, I remember all those little things, and sometimes it upsets me because I'm like, oh, I miss the theater and I miss those people.
Yes.
But I just try and focus more on, the good things. Like, I still have a lot of those relationships, like that movie
Hmm.
theater. Those relationships I built in that theater, like, some of those people are still my best friends to this day. Like, I still talk to them every single day. So I think it's important to focus on the good narrative of it, and less
Yeah.
on like missing it, or less on, oh, why did I quit? Why did I leave?
Yeah, like
Because
less of it being like a void in your life, more than like it was more so like a passage on your journey. And it's like part of it is like thanking it for what it did for you. Like not only like the income it provided you, but the relationships and the learning and the lessons, and the you were a manager there, right? So the responsibility and the leadership, like it's that time in your life, it was valuable. And it's okay to miss it too, though. I think we're human. It's okay to grieve those things. Like it is okay to be like, I wouldn't mind going back there. I don't think that you're as long as you don't live every day like that, then I think it's okay sometimes to take time in the now to reflect on the past. And I think if you take time to do it, then you're truly like giving it the quality time versus just thinking about it like little bits here and there, being like, all right, I'm going to take an hour and just reminisce, like whatever, if that's like going for a walk or sitting on your couch and just being like, oh, that was like a good time. And then, okay, now we're here. That was fun. Let's keep going.
exactly. 100%, that's like my goal, to be able to do that, just reminisce for that hour. But sometimes I don't want to, the nostalgia, that's a good word. The
Mm-hmm.
nostalgia, turns my mood around, and I can just be in the best mood ever. And I'm excited to eat my popcorn. And then all of a sudden, all those memories come flooding back, and my mood's ruined, and
Yes.
I just want to go to bed, and I don't want to have a good night. Um, and
Huh.
I think that's maybe just my
Yeah.
personality. And
No, but I do that too with different stuff though. It'll be like negative experience. Like I'll be like say a bad thing happened and it feels like it's gonna happen again. I'll just like get ready and I'm like, yeah, well, like it's gonna go south, so I might as well be in a bad mood now. And I really want to work on like letting go of that idea. And even if that bad thing does happen, I'm still able to pick my energy back up and be like, okay, like I still want to enjoy the now because we could literally all die in the next minute.
yeah, that's what I was thinking to myself last night, just like, in my bed, just with my own thoughts. And I was
Mm-hmm.
really thinking about like the impact I'm going to leave or like what people are going to think about me. And I hate when I get in that little bit of a rabbit hole almost where you're
Oh
like,
yeah,
you know
because you're
what?
like, oh
And
no, that one time I was grumpy in the grocery store and I didn't say have a good day.
exactly. Or like, I forgot to call a client or something. And then it's like, oh, what if that's the only part they remember me? And in like 60 years, when they're like, someone sees my name or whatever, they're gonna be like, yeah, I had a really bad experience with him. Um,
Yeah,
but I think it's also equally important in the talking about letting go is to let go of other people's opinions and let go of other people's the
yeah.
idea other people have of you.
But also, it's really and truly the idea that we have of ourselves because most of the time, I'll say for myself, anyways, like that person doesn't express that they have that opinion of me. I just make it up. Like, say I didn't call a client. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I overthink it. I'm like, they're gonna think I'm so like, like like a poor advisor and a poor business person, but that person might be like, oh yeah, like life happens. But I'm over here like beating myself up from both sides. I'm beating my like so yes, letting go of those like what?
I just dropped my AirPod.
Oh. Letting go of those yeah, those beliefs and opinions that we think others have of us and that we have of ourselves.
So what do you do to kind of, I know we've kind of talked about this before, and I think it's just like a little bit of anxiety popping into our head that causes
Mm-hmm.
these thoughts. So how do you, if you had a bad experience with a person or bad experience with a job, how do you not let it affect how you see yourself?
Ooh. Um I like to journal. Like journaling is my thing. I also like to like typically when like the iron's hot, like say something just went south, I'm like, okay, you can have your moment. But then I'm like, okay, what was the lesson here? Like I got a speeding ticket as an example. I don't know if I've talked about this before. This was not the PI speeding ticket. This was another one.
Okay.
So I was in a rush listening to good music. I was having a really good day. Got my speeding ticket and I was like, okay, excuse me, I was like that is my sign to slow down, like not only just like literally physically on the road and in my car, but I'm like I was in a rush, like I was thinking about this meeting and that meeting. I'm like slow down, like make sure things that you're doing are of quality. So I try to take a little lesson from it. Sometimes it's really hard to pull a lesson from it because there's a lot of emotions blocking me from receiving anything, so it takes usually time. Like I'll go for a walk or I'll journal and then I'm like, okay, so what is this showing like me? What's coming up here?
Right. And I 100% try to do that as well and try and look at the bigger picture as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to what's right in front of me. That can definitely be a lot easier said than done.
And it's a
It's
constant, like you always have to do it. It's not like I'm so good that I'm like, okay, like huh, that's the lesson there. I'm not even gonna get mad. I'm like, oh, I'm here again and I have to do this again. So it's consistently working with yourself and also listening to the voice in your head. Like I think sometimes I'll catch myself going off on a tangent, like say, I don't know, I have to do the laundry and I'm like mad about it, but I'm going through the actions and there's all this negative energy in me, but I wasn't even checking the voice in my head. Like I wasn't monitoring that chat to be like, nope, I don't need to have these negative thoughts and such. Like do the laundry and then go outside. Like just yeah, being self-aware. Look at these
right.
hands.
And
Catch these
I think
hands.
that's yeah. I think that's good for a lot of situations, but I also believe that there is definitely situations in which there is no lesson, there is no bigger
Mm.
picture per se. And I think it's important that to remember that sometimes you just have to forget about it and let it go. For
Oh
example,
yeah.
I have a story when I was serving at one of my old restaurants. It was one of my first days at this restaurant. I was a very new server, and I rang something in incorrectly, and they got the wrong um, meal or whatever. And it was just like not the best experience, and I knew I could do better. And then from that point on, every single time that guest came in, they made sure that I wasn't their server. Um, and it was sad
So,
because I'm a really good I not to toot my own horn, but I go to my own horn. Like
yeah.
I know I improved from that, and I am a really great server, and I knew better a couple months down the line, and I
Yeah.
didn't make those mistakes. But they never allowed me to have the chance to rectify that situation.
Huh.
And for a long time, every time I saw that guest, it was a little trigger. I was upset. I'm like, oh, remember that time I screwed up, and now they
Right.
never want me to serve them again. Um, and I realized that I could go out of my way to try and get them to sit in my section or be like, hey, like I recognize that I did this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I also realized that maybe they just weren't the type of person who wants to give second chances, and that's completely fine. And that's not on me. It's not on me to prove to them
Right.
that I've learned and that I've become a better server.
So
Um,
you like just like you forgave the situation.
that's exactly it. I forgave the situation. I just, I let it go, and a couple months down the line when they came in, I almost laughed about it. I was just like, yeah, like I screwed up that one time, and now they're missing out.
Right.
I'm like a really great server or whatever.
But instead of being a trigger, it was more of like a just like it was a good tap on the shoulder instead of being like, ugh, them. It
Right.
was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's
It was a
okay. Like,
positive trigger instead of a negative trigger.
yes. I like that. And I think that like that is a good point. There but maybe the whole point of that, like to me, was like you had to learn through that journey to let go of a situation that was like hard to let go of. Because you totally could have gone over there and been like, give me a second chance. Like I'll prove it to you, but you don't need to prove it to them because like beep them. So
You're right. I guess you're right. I
interesting.
think I think you can
Oh, you're
make a
right. I'm
lesson
gonna
out of everything. Okay. That is so yeah, on
if
point.
you want to, right? Because I think like because that was a journey for you in itself. Like them aside, and there's a book called Radical Forgiveness, and it's about how most things in life are a lesson. And it's really interesting how it will spin things. And there's different theories to it. It gets kind of into like spiritual and religious. It talks about like how our souls before we like come into these bodies make a contract. So like those people were gonna be the ones to teach you to let things go. So they were like, okay, like anyways, does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yep, I'm
Yeah.
following.
Yeah, so it's an interesting read. It gets deep and I should like you could probably read it once a month and still pick up new things from it. But it gave me a lot of perspective when I was always pointing the finger at others, and I was able to be like, oh, but what is this showing me? Like, what is this? What can I take from this?
Right, exactly. And it's funny to note too, because that person, that guest probably does not even remember me whatsoever.
Right.
But I've played there. They played a little bit of a role in a journey that I went on. So it's
Yes,
interesting to see that.
100%.
Yeah, it's interesting to see our different perspectives on the situation. Yeah, because I bet if I walked up to that guest right now, they wouldn't even recognize me. They'd be
Yeah,
like,
they'd be like, what?
"Excuse me."
What? Yeah. I'd be like, you molded who I am.
Yeah, I start crying.
And
They're
thank you
just
for
walking
what
down
you
the street.
do. But I think that's what's so cool about life is that when we come into contact with certain people and situations, yeah, you choose to let go and grow, or you choose to stay and play small. I just wanted to make those rhyme, so I kind of almost did it. But I think when you stay, it is okay to stay for a little bit, but don't set up camp.
Right. And yeah, I think going off that as well, it's definitely a lot easier said than it is done. And I
Hmm.
think we've talked about how a lot of the things that we talk about or kind of bring to light on this podcast are a constant battle per se. It's not something that you can just hear us say and
Yeah.
suddenly,
Yeah, you're
boom.
like, okay, I'll
Yeah,
journal for 5 minutes and my life will be perfect.
exactly. That is not how life works. That is not how we're trying to show
No,
life to be.
it's definitely, yeah, like it's a consistent well it's like planning, I don't know, a road trip, but it just it keeps going. That's not my favorite analogy, but there's something.
There's something there.
It's a
Maybe it has something to do with
masterpiece.
farming. It's a
It's the painting.
masterpiece. It's back to the
Well, that's
painting.
that's just it, right? Like say you have a farm and you plant it. Like you don't just plant the seeds and then you're like, okay, my job's done. Like it's planting, taking care of them, harvesting, and then the cycle begins. But now you have to switch where the beans were. You have to put corn there instead because something with the ground. My family's just ashamed of me right now because I don't know the
Yeah.
science behind it. But there's
Everyone in Norfolk is ashamed of you right now. Everyone went to high school with is like, what is going on?
so yeah. But that's like an example for me anyways to see where it's like the work is never done, but it's I think the most rewarding work that we'll ever do.
Right. And I think there's also a stigma behind calling it work as well, because
Mm,
it's not necessarily, it is work, and it's effort, and it's self-improvement, but
mm.
it's kind of life as well. It's kind of like what we're doing, and it's what we're
Creation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's depending on what you believe in. And going back to last week, it's like who you pray to or whatever you
Hmm.
believe in. Um, it's kind of the point of life in a sense. It can be seen as
Yeah,
that.
like your
Um,
purpose is totally like within you.
exactly. I don't think there's like, one purpose that all humankind is put here to discover or
Mm-mm.
put here to, figure out. I think it's kind of up to you to figure out, not to figure out, even to decide what your purpose is.
Yeah, it's a one part figuring out what's inside and who you are, and the other part is how you shine brightest to help others and like
Right.
serve others, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, which I don't, because I'm not here to serve others, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but you serve your clients.
Yes, I do, but I think it's kind of a mutually beneficial relationship. So I think it's
Mm.
more, you know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
we're
Yeah.
working together, building a relationship. Um,
I think that's actually what we're pivoting to. I think it used to be a lot more of like the like yes, like you went to your doctor as an example, but now I think people want like a relationship with their doctor. Like
yeah,
not like
I think it's just that
like
a customer versus client kind of debate, where the
yes.
client is a relationship, the customer is you're serving, you're working for them.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
where a client you're working with, you're obviously still serving them and you're still helping them and you're still doing a service for them. But I think it's more of a
Hmm.
two-way street
A yin
nowadays, that
yang.
a yin and yang.
Hmm.
Yes. Anyways, I think
Interesting.
we've gotten a little bit off topic. I just want to go back
Yes.
to letting go, and because I think not letting go is an easy way to stand in your own way, um, in a,
100%.
in a lot of situations. Because going back to the PEI situation, or that vacation we took together,
Mm.
like you said, I compared every vacation afterwards to that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, now I have new experiences and new things that I compare things to, but that's all still in the back of my head. But it can definitely disallow you to enjoy the present, when you're too focused
Yes.
on the past.
And it can, yeah, like it can keep you small and back there, right? When you're living here and now. So I think, yeah, you're right. Like when we don't let go of those experiences, like we enjoyed them, but they've served their purpose. Like we have those memories. They don't need to be the like the the marker that we have to jump up to. So when it comes to things like ideas of ourselves, like letting those go, because even like when it comes to social media consistency and being a person in business, like what are people going to think of me? And I went from working at here to now I'm a financial advisor, and is this that imposter syndrome. So it's totally getting out of your own way, because when we have those things that we don't let go of, they're just like it's like a bar on the jail cell. Like it's just like one more thing that we're like, oh, we have to get around that too.
Right.
Let
And
it
I
go.
think, yeah, let it go.
Let it go.
That's something that I've really put a lot of effort into and a lot of focus for myself, is whenever I catch myself, comparing something to the past, or, you know, living in the past, or not really
Mm-hmm.
focusing on the future. It's that constant, like, have that conversation with yourself. Maybe not out loud, especially if you're in public, but in your head,
You
or
do.
do it out loud. If you really are letting other people's opinions and thoughts of you go, then you wouldn't
Yeah,
care what other
like
people say.
truly. Eh?
But I really have to, talk to myself and have that conversation with myself. And that comes from me being self-aware, um, ish, kind
Mm-hmm.
of. And just
Ish.
be like, hey, you know what? This is you standing in your own way. You're comparing this experience to a past experience, and that's
Yeah.
disallowing you to enjoy this experience. Be it relationships, be it, jobs, experiences, whatever it may be. Um, I don't. I've really stopped comparing the present to the past,
Yeah.
um, and I've started focusing on the present and what the future will look like.
Yes. And you really have to not like yes, like looking forwards to backwards, but also like stay in your own lane too. Like just focus on yourself. And when it came to like those voices that come up in your head and you're like you were stopping yourself, and I read something the other day and it was like I've talked to that voice in my head like it's I don't know. I'm gonna have to find the meme and share it because I'm gonna butcher it. So, but it was
Post it on our
funny.
Instagram.
It was something about how like she talks to it like it was like the old man that I don't know, like the old grumpy man, like, shut up, Greg, like, you don't even know what you're talking about. And it was just
Damn it,
funny
Greg.
because it's like a funny commentary to be like, yeah, like it doesn't know what it's talking about. It doesn't know where you're going and how fierce you can be when there's nothing in your way. Fierce. Good word.
Great word. 10 out of 10
Mm-hmm.
word.
Mm-hmm. I
All right.
also
How do
had
you, sorry, go ahead.
I also had a coach one time that told me that if letting go can sometimes make people feel like scarcity. So like the term itself, letting go, to exchange it with like let it flow, like let it leave you if it's not for you, which I think is important to do self audits of ourselves. Like if there's a thought like, don't post that, people are going to think you're weird. Like let that flow. Like that thought does not serve you. This post is truly me. So do that.
Also, like if someone thinks you're weird, how does that affect you? Like, what? It's
Yeah.
not like they're going to comment on your post, or maybe they do. Maybe
And
they
even if
comment
they
saying,
do, like, okay,
yeah,
cool, then don't
yeah,
follow me.
exactly.
Yes.
We're obviously not aligned, and we don't have the same thoughts. So
That's
that's,
yes, I want to bring up another thing. So I did like a little moon research recently, and it's like how to kind of function with the moon, because it is a big, very big part of us. It affects the tides. We are 76% water. Don't quote me on that fact.
I think it's
um
more, but I don't know.
I know that, yeah.
It doesn't matter. We're a lot of
Anyways,
water.
we're a lot of water, so it's like, okay, the moon must, have an effect on us. So when we had the full moon, it was last week, and part of the full moon is to let go of things that are no longer serving you, which is very cool. And then with the new moon, you set new intentions. So just some cool things. I
Right. And
think that's
I think
right.
that's a
Yeah.
great point too, because I think, we talked a lot about letting go,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also important to, open yourself up to new things, new experiences, new goals, new objectives, new
Yeah.
whatever it may be, new
New
relationships, new
challenges.
job, new challenges. That's a good one
Yeah.
too. Um, yeah, it's definitely equally important to open yourself up and let yourself go. But when you say it like that, it's not.
Let yourself grow, because I think without those, like if you just kept it safe and you're like, okay, I'm gonna let that go, but like the rest of this is all good, then you end up with this, like this little ball of things that works for you. But you need to continue to cycle and try new things and continue to let things go, because there's always going to be something in your life that's not serving you or it's not feeling right. Every day there's going to be something that comes up, and it's like, okay, it's just always been in that practice of like, do I need this? Is this best for me? um and sometimes what's been coming up for me lately is like, oh, that's not right. Like say I'm like, oh, I want to go try this, and I'm like, no, that's not right, that doesn't feel right. So it's really just like tuning into yourself again and being like what's true about me.
Right. And I think tuning into yourself is hitting the nail on the head, because
Love it.
everyone is different and every individual has a different experience. So things that,
Mhm.
I want to focus on may not be what you're focusing on, or things
Yeah.
that you want to let go are not things that I'm ready to let go, or I think letting go would improve my life. So yeah, it's really important to, get in touch with yourself, connect with yourself, and figure out, what's not serving you, and
Hmm.
what you want to serve you, what your goals are,
Yeah.
where you're headed,
And I think
and
there's the sayings in it, or it talks about like, if it's not, if you're not doing things that are building the life that you want, then why are you doing them?
exactly.
If eating carrot cake for breakfast doesn't build the life you want, then why are you doing them? And I did that today, and I thought that to myself, and I also thought to myself, it's okay if you want to do this sometimes, but I don't do it every day. But I was like, because
Also,
I
I
got
think eating carrot cake on like a Monday morning to start your week
oh,
is
yeah, so good, gluten
exactly
free,
where you
dairy
want to
free.
be.
Um, but also, like part of that came up was like the bully in my head, or like the negative talk was like, you should be eating this, like this isn't supporting what you want. And I'm like, and then like the devil angel advocate, the angel was like, it's cool, like when was the last time you had cake for breakfast? Live, bro. And then I lived and I was happy with it, and I'm talking about it here because I think it's important when we have those moments of like inner battle to be like, okay, like
Right. And
pull
that's
it
a perfect
apart.
example of you letting go of those negative thoughts about,
Yeah.
what is the carrot cake going to do for me or to
Yeah.
me? And
Yeah.
it's like, who cares?
Yes,
It's what you
exactly.
want in the moment. So get
Yeah,
in there.
get in. And if I was doing it every day, then no, that's not supporting it. Like, but I did it once and it supported the day I had today.
Exactly. And I'm sure it was a great way to start a day, and
It
it
was
just put you
very
in a
good.
positive mindset. Yeah.
Yes.
Now I want carrot cake.
Yes. It was so good. So good.
All right. how did you feel about this episode? What do you
Good.
think?
It felt really good. How did it feel for you?
I felt good too. I felt like we got a lot out. We got a lot of good thoughts,
Yeah.
and I related to everything that you were saying. So yeah,
Good.
I'm
Yeah. I think it's something that no one told us about this. Like there was never, I don't know if there was maybe like, and like maybe there was like a rift between me and my sisters, and it was like, but it was called like Get Over It or Suck It Up. It wasn't talked about as something that like you took a lesson from, you grew through. It was uncomfortable. Like it just life was. I don't know, man. Like there's
no one
so
talked
much that
about
I'm
it. And
learning. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And to this day, a lot of people don't talk about it. Like, if you don't hear this podcast or you don't hear similar podcasts, it's something you're never going to think about because it's not a regular part of growing up
Right.
to talk about these kind of things. So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel really good about talking about it and getting it out there and getting my thoughts on it. And yeah, I'm really excited to hear other people's thoughts and what you think and what everyone else thinks. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Episode 20 in the books.
yeah, that's a wrap. I hope everyone has a fantastic week.
Yes.
I don't really have anything to say. Follow us on social media as always at the new net 2020.
Yeah, we'll be
Um,
there.
other than that,
Try to let go of something this week.
yeah, do
What
it.
are you gonna try to let go of?
Um, we're back in lockdown, so
Yeah.
I'm really, I harbored a lot of negative feelings towards that. And I think a lot of people do because I see a lot of negative posts about it on social media. And I see a lot of, when I talk to peers and people around me, everyone's upset and they're like, oh, another lockdown. We got a whole month of sitting at home and doing nothing again. But I think I'm going to let go of that negativity and really focus on how I can use this time to improve myself. Today I spent like
Ooh.
hours just researching and trying to build myself up to be able to be successful on social media because I think that's super important. We've talked about in the past. So I'm going to use these next
Yes.
couple months to up my social media game. And
Yes.
yeah, that's I'm going to let go of all that
Okay.
negativity
So
of
you're letting
stuck at home.
go, letting flow the negativity of COVID and the lockdown and putting a positive spin on the lockdown. That's what I called it last
Oh,
week. I know, I don't know why I did it, but it felt
I
right.
loved it.
Huh. I
What
like
about
that
yourself?
too. I know I don't have very long to think about this, but I think I'm gonna work on monitoring and auditing the voice in my head when I eat food that or like that in society's eyes maybe like I shouldn't do that. Or just being mindful when I eat. I think that's a better, yeah,
I think
like
that's a
listening
good
to
goal.
myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
I
right.
like it.
Goodbye, guys.